Hi there, this is Cece Zach, and if you've worked your entire life, reached this chapter, which I call the third, and found yourself wondering, now what? Well, you are not alone. Because retirement isn't just about what you're leaving, it's about figuring out who you are now and what you want next. This is the Meaningful MEtirement podcast, where we turn uncertainty into clarity and help you create a life filled with joy, fulfillment, and freedom. So let's get into it. I am thrilled to have a dear friend, a recent friend that I've met in my third, Mitch Lee. Mitch, thank you for coming.
You're welcome, Cece.
And just to give you a little background on Mitch is that he is a United States Military Academy graduate and a former senior executive of Raytheon, who actually grew up in New Jersey, that I just found out yesterday. And I spent a long time in New Jersey as well. But he has also carried a lifelong passion for travel, leadership, and growth into every chapter of his life. And what makes Mitch such a meaningful guest is his powerful transition from professional success to purpose-driven service in his third, including his role as an honorary ride chair for the Project Hero Veterans Ride in St. Petersburg. And what that truly demonstrates to me is a deep compassion for others and a commitment to giving back in ways that truly define a life of impact. Not to mention, he is an identical twin. So with that, welcome again, Mitch.
Thank you. By the way, I'm the good-looking identical twin.
Oh, okay. And yeah, that is a joke between the two of them. And I have never met, few listeners out there have never met his identical twin. I don't even know if he really does look like him, but someday I'll find out. So Mitch, what is your perception of the word retirement?
I think my first perception or reaction is opportunity. Most people work for a considerable amount of their life, and they work toward that goal of not having to work. And yet, some people have trouble digging out of the role they play in their work. And their work is so much of them that they struggle when they now have the opportunity to not work. I always felt like working was in the way of things I wanted to do.
That's awesome.
I always looked forward to the weekend and looked forward toward the next vacation. And it was never long enough. You're lucky if you could take 2 weeks and get away from work, typically, I think, in a lot of businesses. So I was no different than a lot of people. I think that I worked hard, but work was not what defined me. My passions for travel, for athletics, hobbies. And then I found out that I did need to do something in retirement besides just have fun. And that's when I decided that I would stay involved in a couple of nonprofits that have become important to me later in my career. One of them, as being a veteran, one is the Project Hero that you mentioned. That's actually a national nonprofit that has about 50 chapters around the country. And I happen to be in an area where a lot of cycling can be done year-round, and a lot of veterans are living. So I became involved, and then I actually formed the local group there, and we became one of the larger ones in the country. And we help not only once a year in a big ride where we have 500 cyclists show up. We raise funds for the injured veterans, but we help ride every week. And I probably have led 1,000 bike rides over the last 10 years or so. But it's important because cycling helps everybody. And yet, for injured veterans, it really, really helps them even more. Many of the injuries are non-visible. You see paralyzed injured veterans, but you don't know that 80% of the injuries are PTSD or traumatic brain injuries. So it's a way for me to give back, not just once a year, but weekly. And as I said, we have ridden literally over 1,000 rides over the 10 years. Typically, we ride about twice a week. So that was one nonprofit. The other, I had already been serving for many years, the member of the board of directors for a Pinellas County Education Foundation. And I became chair at one point, and then now I have a great title. It's called past chair,
That's simple.
which is
That's
very highly sought after. Once you've been the chair, you want to get through that and kind of kick back a little bit. But it helps K through 12, helps the school district do things they can't do by themselves. So financially, as well as other programs, Finance Park, Enterprise Village, where kids come and spend time and learn things about how to grow up and be an adult in the real world.
Where did your passion for serving others come from? Is it innate in you? Because what I've found is that this has been a huge part of your third, and yet you were able to just so seamlessly slip out of your identity as a business professional into helping others not as fortunate as you. And gosh, there's so much to learn about how you did that, and what it is about you that just made it seem so easy.
I think that a lot of people are like me, that they care and they want to help others just generally. So I think your comment about being innate quality, I think that's kind of where I am. I like to help people. It can be in a formal way, or it can be helping them figure out how to solve a problem. I had already been involved in these two nonprofits when I was in my career, so I didn't have to go search for something else to figure out how to feel good about giving back. And I think most everybody likes to give a gift as much as they like to receive. So, giving back has been great for me. The cycling is perfect because I like to cycle and I like to be athletic. So I get to help the person that's literally right beside me, riding a bike, and over miles and miles, they will start to talk and they will tell you stories that they've never told anyone before.
And this is someone you've never met before.
Never met them
Yep.
before, or maybe met them a couple times on a bike ride.
Yeah.
And they will tell you that that saved their life. And that's nothing, more, there's nothing more powerful than to hear that, and then to know that just your presence, you don't even have to help them. You just, by being there, you're helping them. So that makes me feel good. It is part of retirement that I think everyone should find something besides just going and playing pickleball and golf and like I said before, having fun. I think that you're so busy with your career that there is a void that I think that gets created. And part of it is that feel good about helping others.
Do you mind stepping back a little bit to when you did retire and what planning that you did going into that retirement? I mean, how did that all evolve? How did that transition of working and then now not working and then finding this incredible, honorable identity of what it is that you're doing now in your third? Can you just take us through that? Because it was a
Sure.
while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I retired in 2013 in January. I was short a couple months from my 60th birthday, so I was still late
Yeah.
59. It was a time in my career where I was doing well financially. I was doing well with the business. Had helped it grow in Raytheon. Florida didn't start out that big, but we got bigger through the years. We went from $75 million in sales a year to $500 million annually.
That's no
And
chump
had
change.
about 2,000 people that worked with me, for me, and they were terrific. It was a great family feeling, and we all worked toward the same goals. And I was more of a cheerleader than I was doing anything work-wise, and they performed great. But I also knew that the company was going in certain directions that was getting harder and harder for me to be happy with, sitting there and trying to keep that business going at the same time knowing that consolidation and trying to pull business away from our area. So I finally told them, if you don't want to continue to pay me this salary and you want to move in a different direction, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So they put a package together, and I was able to financially help a little bit to where I was already going.
The financial piece is key in all of this, and I think for all of the listeners out there, it's important that is the fundamental foundation for people moving into the third. At least from my perspective, I am clearly not a financial specialist, so I'm happy you brought that up. But the thing that fascinates me, Mitch, is that here you are, an extraordinary leader of thousands of people. They're performing, at or above what everyone expects. And was it a shift in values that you saw in the company? Like, what was it that made you say, okay, I'm not so sure I like I'm not so sure I should be a part of where they're going. And then all of a sudden, you had the courage to just say, okay, it's time for me to move on. Like, where did you get that from?
I think I saw the writing on the wall that the company was going to continue to consolidate and take business away from our business unit, no matter what I would do. And I had fought that struggle for a long time, and I think I've became just finally just a little bit weary of it, and decided, well, this is a good time to make the move toward what I've always thought about it. One day I would retire. But financially, I was pretty set. We were pretty set, my wife and I, and she had a good job, and I had a good job, and we'd made some financial progress over the years. So financially, we looked at the numbers and knew very well that we could retire at this point if we wanted to, or if I wanted to, because my wife actually, Linda, actually kept working and was involved in energy projects that were very exciting to her, and that's great. But I always looked at transitioning from the career business world to retirement as you've learned all these great skills, how to manage your day and get so many things done, multitask and work toward goals.
Full calendar.
Just, constantly busy and traveling. And so I looked at it as, well, just take all those great managerial skills that you've developed over the years and apply them towards your personal life. So now you finally have control of your own calendar pretty much. Before, a lot of outside influences affected your ability to manage your own calendar. I mean, you had some control, but by and large, if you work for a company, many of those demands are going to cause you to do things at a certain time, whether you wanted to do them in that time or not. But I found that my iPhone became even more important to me than I thought it could when I was in the business world. It became my scheduler, my write notes down, try to remember things by writing them down. I was always one of these people that I would listen in class, for example, in school, and think that I'm going to remember everything that I heard. And then the test came, and it was like, oh my gosh, I should have taken notes. I should have written more down. So I think having a tool now that becomes your personal assistant, because I had a secretary for most of my career, or a shared secretary or a secretary, and that was a lot of things that she or he took off my plate. So now it shifts into your own world.
Domain, yep.
And you have the ability or the inability, depending upon how you plan for that or how you use it. If you want to play golf, you better schedule it, because it may not happen. It's probably not going to happen if you just wake up one day and, I want to go play golf, and there's no tee time or no buddies available. Yeah. So I think that's also important to have a tool that you now can help manage your time and schedule things that you want to make happen to be enjoying life.
So you bring up, you embraced technology, which, you probably had embraced in your businesses as well, but you, like I, had a coordinator of such, full-time coordinator of such. It pretty much helped me with my professional and personal life. But was there a huge learning for you as it related to technology at all, or is that something that came easy to you? Because I do think that is an unspoken that no one has brought up yet is, what do you have? We all need help in everything, in everything that we do. But I love the fact that you embrace this technology, and I'm just curious if, it was a challenge for you. Is there something that came easy? And what do you think our listeners should do with technology?
I think your listeners are probably very sophisticated in the world of technology today compared to maybe 10 years ago or so when I was getting out of the work world. I think that people take for granted, but that's a good thing, that all this technology is available to them.
Mm.
Applications, apps that now do so many different things for you. I think by and large, from what I see from my friends and friends of friends, people have no problem today taking that technology that's available and using it and applying it. I think you can get overwhelmed with too much
Mm.
technology, too many apps, and get buried into Facebook and other things, emails, and but I think that they're just tools, and I think people are pretty good at it today.
And you know what you're excellent at with that technology? And listeners, I've had the pleasure of being with Mitch when he uses his phone as his camera. And he does an extraordinary job of capturing moments that I didn't even see if I was in the same situation. Just tell me quickly how that has, changed your life at all in any way.
Well, I love photography. I think a lot of people do. I love to take pictures that you can frame. When you're framing the picture, when you're taking it, having the vision of what it's really the best angle, the best shot, the best composition, and I just enjoy doing that. So it becomes part of me. I think it's a pretty natural thing I gravitate toward, and uh, I have way too many pictures on my phone. But all you got to do is pay a few more dollars, and Google will store it for you.
Um, but I guess I bring that up because your photos have brought joy to me. And, for anyone out there that has ever wanted to capture a moment or to give a gift that keeps on giving to people, so being in service of others or, giving back to others, you've given that to me. And I think, most of my digital photo album from Africa, for you out there, I was able to go on a trip that Mitch put together a year ago. 99.9% of those photos are yours. And so thank you. That's a gift that keeps on giving that you may not even know. So it's just an idea for people out there if they're looking for something to do and to give back and give meaning. So which is, something else for us to think about. But tell me, is there something that you would have told your younger self before retirement, based on all the wisdom that you've received to date? Is there something you would have told your younger self that may have made this transition easier or different or?
Well, I don't know if I would have done something different, but I would say I've had the question asked of me many a time by friends about retirement and when they should retire. And I always say the same thing. I say, don't wait too long.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of things in life that are not planned. There are certainly things in my life that I did not have in my plan. I have 2 artificial hips. And there was a time where I couldn't hardly walk down the street and without pain for 40 yards, and I'd turn around and go back home. I didn't plan on that.
Yeah, and let me ask you how that made you feel since you're so athletic. How did that pain?
It was a real blow mentally in terms of having to recognize the fact I've been a sports person my whole life, and I played tennis. I've been a marathon runner, a triathlete. I've played tennis, pickleball, golf, hiked. Not a very good swimmer, but but I always thought
Oh, you
I'd be in
forgot
my
skiing too.
80s. Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
I thought I'd be in my 80s running marathons, but that's not happening anymore. So that was a real surprise. And people can have heart conditions, you can get cancer. There's just all sorts of things that were never in someone's plans. The earlier, if you can financially do it, I think the better. As long as you can fill that void of time that you had in work with things you enjoy doing, and the service of giving back to others is part of that, as we talked about. But doing things that you want to do, for example, if you're a tennis player or if you're a runner or just hiking, and you want to be able to do them at a level that's the quality that you've been used to doing them. You don't have to be a super athlete,
Right.
but if you get some ailment or physical or mental problem that comes along that wasn't in the plan, you're not possibly not able to do the things at the level you want to do them. It's not about life and death always. It's about quality of life. And you've worked all this time. You get to this point where you could have retired 5 years earlier, and there really was no reason. You just hung on to the job
Oh, yes,
because
there was.
that
Ego.
that's ego.
Yeah.
And if you can step away from the ego and that if that doesn't define you, your work is not who you are, I think that's a much healthier place to be. And I think the earlier you can do that, enjoy it. I've got friends that are dealing with some things right now that they never planned on, and
Yeah.
yet fortunately some of them have been in retirement enough where they've done things and really had a good time.
So you have 2 artificial hips. By the way, I'm going to have 1 artificial hip a month from now. Less
Welcome
than
to the club.
I will. Yeah.
And by the way, I still ski bumps, as you know.
Yes. Yes.
And
But tell me about the running. That was a question I was going to ask. You
Yeah,
mentioned no marathons.
I am not a runner anymore because they're stiff and they just never. Even I did therapy and rehab and so on. And the pounding is not all that good for an artificial hip. So I have taken that off my plate.
Wow. And how many marathons had you done before?
Well,
or ultra?
I only did 1 marathon, but
Okay.
I've done a number of triathlons, and I did a lot of middle distance. I did 5Ks, 10Ks, 15Ks. So I was a pretty good, decent runner. I was the 436 miler, whatever. But it was reasonably okay.
Well, I have to say, it's very courageous that you had both of them done, but it seems unfair that when you make the decision to fix a part of your body and you can't do it and you hope that maybe you could even do it again. But what you bring up is really important about letting go of doing something at the level that you used to do it. And I went through that with heart disease, and hiking was my nemesis. And as I'm dealing with the heart disease, it's still not fixed yet. And it's always been a goal of mine to do a 14er. And I have yet to do a 14er because I'm afraid I'm going to get 3/4 of the way up.
Yeah.
And that it is fear that from stopping me. But the thing that I need to remind myself, it's not about the height. Like, it's not about I have to do a 14er because I'm checking it off the box. There's no reason why I can't go on a beautiful 12,000 foot hike and still have the same experience. Anyway, that's what I've had to let go of, is that it's not the quality. It's
Right.
not the goal anymore. I could do the same thing. It's just looking different.
Sure. Well, and for me, deciding to have, and I did not do both simultaneously.
Yeah.
Would not recommend that for anyone.
So I was just going to say,
Yeah.
your wife, Linda, thank God, I couldn't even imagine what you would be like with
Well, and without being able to have those parts replaced, I'd either be in a wheelchair or be on a cane.
you really think at this point it would have been
Oh
that
yeah,
bad?
absolutely. It's arthritis, and the doctor looked at the X-ray and said, "You see all that white stuff?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "That's bad. That's cancer. That's it's arthritis."
Yeah.
And he said, "But the good news is we just chop this thing off here and take it all out and put in a new part, and you're good to go." It was a little more than that, but but he was right. It gave me my life back, basically.
Wow. Okay. Well, that makes me look forward to 4 weeks from now when I'm rehabbing. We'll have to catch up, and I'll
Well, I
commiserate.
hope you're a better patient than I was. My wife told me your problem's gonna be you're gonna be an impatient patient, and I kind of overdid it the first time, and a little too soon and too many steps, and they get you up walking the day of, but then how much you do thereafter for the first week or so, you can overdo it a little bit, which I did.
Hmm. So, is there any belief in this whole transition of you going into your third? Were there any beliefs that you had to let go of to really embrace joy and fulfillment in this third?
I don't think I have any that I feel that way about.
Okay.
We travel a lot, which it was something that I'd done all my life. I went to high school in New Jersey, but I had a life of many years where my family moved around. My dad was a contractor for an electronics company, did radars for the Air Force, and we moved around like a military family for year to year to year. In Europe, for Germany for a couple of years as fourth and fifth grader. So I think the wanderlust, the travel bug was there. My mom, I remember, she was from Alabama, and when we got to Germany, she says, "We're going to go see as many countries as possible." So every time we could take off, we took off somewhere, and that gal from Alabama got to see a lot of the world. Well, she was in Germany with my dad and my family.
All right. How many practical jokes did you play with your brother imitating one versus the other in different parts of the world? I,
I don't know how many, but there are a couple quality ones that we had. We had one dance where in eighth grade he had asked two girls, and I at the time was not asking anybody, and they both said yes. So we both dressed identically, same shirt, slacks, went to the dance, and he said, "Well, I really would want to make sure I spend time with each of them so that later on there's not going to be a problem with remembering what was talked about." I said, "Okay, all right." So we had a signal that we would go to the restroom and we would swap back and come back out and go to the other girl. So it worked beautifully the first time, but then the second time they were waiting, and they knew.
Oh my God, that's
So they both got mad at
hysterical.
him, and the one that was with me said, "Well, you were just trying to help your brother out." So
Yeah.
I had a good evening.
Oh my gosh, that is hysterical. And your brother's name, you're Mitchell. He's Michael, right?
Yeah, Mitch and Mike.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, how your mother kept it straight, I'll never know, but oh, that's great. Mitch, you and your wife, and she's been a previous guest on Meaningful MEtirement as well, truly exemplify to me uh, the the true opportunity of living a joyous, fulfilled, and free life. And one of the things that I didn't even talk to her about, but you have four grandchildren now, and you are both so active and able to be with those grandchildren at their level. I think the oldest is 5.
10.
Oh, 10. Okay.
10, 7, 5, 1.
Um, Help me understand how they have shaped your third over the last 10 years.
Well, one thing, we don't live that close to either one of my children. The closest, though, is about 2 hours away. Scott, he's in Gainesville. He's a professor at University of Florida for music composition, and he's got our two youngest. So it's a little bit of a trek to go car-wise. You got to make a drive, and it's not like you just say, "I'm going to go down the block and
Yeah.
go visit my kids." So we have a little bit of separation, but we have the ability to see them when we want. And then the other two are in Virginia, in Arlington, D.C. area, and it's a plane ride, but it's a couple hours you're there, same as a drive essentially. So we don't. Uh, I guess our grandchildren don't run their grandparents' lives. And I would say that there are some friends of mine that have gotten the trap of, I don't say being taken advantage of, but they've allowed themselves to get so ingrained into their kids and grandkids' lives that they almost don't have their own life
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
So, and we travel quite a bit, so it's not always easy to say, "Oh, let's go see the grandkids," or have the grandkids come see us. Holidays are a big deal for us. Christmas and Thanksgiving are times where we do see the kids and grandkids, and it's a swap kind of a thing because there's other grandparents on the other side. So we kind of alternate, and that works great. But we really enjoy, we love our kids, grandkids, and they're just spectacular in what they're doing in their lives. But again, like I said, we are a little bit of separation, and we see them when we want to, or they see us when we want to.
Yeah, and what I love about you bringing up the other side of the coin is that the beauty of grandchildren is that some grandparents integrate in a way that it's for both of them and not just a one-sided. So what I mean by that is just what you just described. It's really a win-win for both parties, but it's a special time. It's not like it's a predetermined or it's a pre-functioned. And I do think that people in their third get lost in their grandchildren's lives, and they forget that this is their time for them, or what I call MEtirement.
Right.
And I do give caution because I have two very close friends that are just caught up in their grandchildren, and I never get to see this person because of that. So thank you for bringing that up. And the other thing I want to ask you about too is that I know you two are the only couple I know that have upsized as it relates to your home life versus downsized. And I just think it is such a joyful thing that you've done. So maybe just explain the rationale behind the upsize versus downsizing. And what I mean by that is you building a new home, a bigger home. And then Mitch, you take it from there.
Yeah, we're in St. Petersburg, Florida. That's where our main home is, and we had a nice size home, but we were on a canal waterway, and we wanted to get a different open water spot, which was in the same neighborhood, ironically. And when we had that chance, we knew we could build from scratch. So rather than build, as you were talking about, a smaller home, we built a larger home. It's about 5,600 square feet, has about 5 bedrooms,
That's
6
large.
bedrooms, I guess, and swimming pool for the grandkids, also maybe a little bit for the grandparents. But it was an opportunity to, when we have family and friends, we got a place to put them. And the upstairs is kind of, we have a running joke, it's kind of our hotel, because I don't even hardly go up there except to help straighten a few things here or there. But
Take out the garbage, maybe?
maybe,
Yeah.
but that's downstairs. So
Yeah.
it's also, I don't need to go upstairs. Yeah, so it's a real joy to see, especially during the holidays when we want to especially have family and friends around. We've got the room to put them up, and everybody gets to get really good, close and quality time.
Intimate. And there's nothing better at this stage in life than that intimate quality time, because there's never enough time for anything. So
Right.
Mitch, I just want to thank you so much for joining the podcast. Your wisdom and your behaviors are very much a role model that I hope all of my listeners can emulate, because you and your wife exude joy, fulfillment, and freedom. And I just, every time I'm in your presence, I have a great time. You cannot not have a great time. And that's a tribute to, also your 50-year marriage.
Coming up.
Yeah,
In June.
I might have to ask the two of you to come on a podcast and talk about, just the companionship and what that does. And you two are very growth orientated, and it just you exude love, compassion, and growth, like trying something new or showing someone something new that they haven't experienced. So, thank you for being on. I could gush about the two of you forever. But I think, what I got out of this whole thing is so many different nuggets, but you said it early on, don't wait too long.
Yeah.
Don't wait too long, because you may wake up someday and just not have the opportunity anymore.
Yeah, well said.
Well, with that, again, I just want to thank you. And before we go, listeners, I just want to say that transitions are hard. Mitch made it sound so easy, but if you listened, he had a lot of passions and hobbies during his professional career. It was athletics. It was part of being a nonprofit. He had other hobbies. He was doing all sorts of work to serve in others' stead. But letting go of who you were to figure out who you are now is a really big shift. And if you are feeling a little uncertain or lost, you're not alone. But this is where something new begins. And when you understand who you really are, which is a challenge for so many people, especially me, you create a joyful life, full and with freedom. So until next time, podcasters, keep creating a life that feels meaningful to you. And Mitch, a big thanks.
Now you will.